Alright, so Mason the Brock Henderson here, and luckily Thursday nights does not just have Bones, it also has the Blacklist, because if it was just Bones, my Thursday nights would really suck. So the Blacklist tonight wasn't as good as it's been, but it's still good. They start off with the cliche, they've done it before. You see, what's her name? It's a Mr. something. God, I can't remember. I'll remember it in a second. But they have the woman that Red always calls to clean up the stuff. They have her taking pictures of Elizabeth dead, and you have the newscast saying that Elizabeth Keene is dead. And watching it, I'm thinking, no, she's not. Like you know she's not dead, and that mainly comes from the fact that the biggest problem that a lot of these shows have is that there are characters that if you kill them, you wouldn't have a show. And so whenever you see one of them die, you think they're not really dead, they're coming back. And that does not include you know who from The Walking Dead, so people just stop, okay? Just accept it, it happened. People really need to get over your denial, because it's frustrating me, because Anyway. But, there are characters that you cannot kill, or else you wouldn't have a show. Without Red or Elizabeth, the Blacklist would not exist. This show would not exist. The whole show revolves around them, revolves around Red's Blacklist and Elizabeth's past and connection to Red. So if you kill either of them, you don't have a show. And so, like, with NCIS, I know I reference a lot of different shows in these reviews, but, they had that episode where Gibbs got shot, and it made it seem like he might die. And that was okay, because without Gibbs, you still have Tony and the rest of the team. NCIS does not revolve around one agent. It doesn't just revolve around Gibbs. And so, you could have a show without him. So I was curious to see, was he going to make it? If he did make it, is he going to retire? What's going to happen with him? But, so anyway, back to this show. You can't kill Elizabeth. And so watching this, I was hoping maybe they wouldn't even try to, build the suspense. But no, they go back 12 hours. What happened before? But to this episode's credit, that's probably the only weak point, and it's just because I hate cliches. So, but this one's called Ariat Kane, the name of the Blacklister, which some of these, like, they have their numbers and stuff, but some of these names feel like they get invented during the episode. And so I'm like, wait a second, if they're like number something on the Blacklist, shouldn't they already exist? Like, what, how is Ariat Kane on the Blacklist if this is just a name that was revealed this episode? Like, Red didn't even seem to know who Ariat Kane was. So I wonder about that sometimes. But basically what this episode is about is Elizabeth's name ends up on this bounty site online, and she has several assassins coming after her. First one, I can't even remember his name. It was like, sounded like a Winnebago, something like that. But he is like, he always gets his mark, and you felt like she should be dead because the way that it starts with him is he kills the two guys that are protecting her. You're like, wait, why? Like, all you had to do was just take her out, and instead you take out the two guys with her before you take, like, what is this, a game to you? You had a chance to get your money. Instead you thought, it'd be fun to take out the guards first, and so you do. That didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, so he takes out the two guards, she escapes, of course, and they use their resources to find another guy who knows where this Winnebago guy is. I know his name's not Winnebago, but I love saying Winnebago, so suck it. But they find him, and he tries to escape, ends up like jumping off one balcony to another, and barely holding on, Red, of course, catches up to him and finds out about the site, finds out that there's a bounty placed on Elizabeth, and so begins the search for who set up the site. They find the guy who set up the site through the guy that led them to Mr. Winnebago, and find out that he's just set up the site. He's not the one that can take Elizabeth's name off of it. It's whoever put out the bounty on her. And so they decide the best way to do that is to pretend she's dead, pretend that somebody killed her, get the bounty, and then you can use that routing number to find out where it was sent from. But before all of this goes down, Solomon, the guy that's been torturing Dembe this whole time, the guy that shot Dembe at the end of the last episode, gets to Red and Elizabeth and takes them to this hangar where Solomon's waiting for them. And of course, you're just waiting, who's going to get him out of this? And my money was always on Dembe, and sure enough, Dembe, I love how he did it. He sends in a guy on a golf cart that's like dead, and the golf cart comes in, making an alarm on it, and so they all turn to look, and Dembe comes in from the other side and just starts shooting up guys. It was brilliant. Dembe's definitely one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character. He always gets the job done. So he saves them. Red shoots the guy that shot Dembe at the end of the last episode, and then Dembe collapses, and so they show Dembe getting into the back of an ambulance. So hopefully he lives, because if he dies, I'm not going to be happy. But then they go to the scene that they showed at the beginning, where I'm just going to look it up because it's kind of bothering me, because I know it's Mr. something. But I can't remember the name because they haven't said it. They probably did say it this episode, but I don't pay attention enough. So, yeah. Man, come on. Alright, I'll find it in a second. Anyway, while I'm looking, I'm going to keep talking. But they fake her death, obviously, make it look like she got killed. They get the money sent to Kaplan, Mr. Kaplan. Ha! Okay. But they get the money sent to Solomon's computer. I think it was Solomon's computer. And the whole time they're working with Aram, which I like, because Aram has already said that he's going to help. And even Samar seems like she's helping a bit, which is nice. But Red decides he's going to use his own guy to find the routing number because he wants to get there before the FBI. So they get to this house, and they showed it at the beginning. Like, this girl comes down the stairs, and she's like, they got her! And it's on the news that Elizabeth is dead. And, it's just a guy and his little girl. And she's, like, smiling. You're like, why is she so, like, what's going on? And so, of course, they show up at that guy's house, and you're thinking, okay, they finally got him. And they're questioning him. He's like, I have no idea what's going on. The girl comes around the corner. She's like, he's right. I'm the one that put the bounty up. I'm the one that wants you dead. You're like, but you're like 15. Like, what? That was a very good twist, because it could have been the guy. It could have easily been the guy. It would have made it so, straightforward. Like, okay, that's why they showed the guy to be. But no, they make it his girl. And I love that twist because it just, I don't know, it gives it a bit of an edge that you weren't expecting. And I love it when shows take dare to do that, dare to say, no, we're not going to go the same old route, we're going to change it up a little bit. So they come to find out that the girl's mom, and that guy's wife, was killed in one of the bombings that Elizabeth has been accused of. And that's why the girl put up the bounty. And so, of course, Elizabeth finally convinces her that she's not the one that, she's not the one that attacked that place. She's not the one that bombed it. But she will find the guys responsible. So, the girl takes her down off the website. And that's pretty much it for their side of it. 2 more stories going on, which, once again, a lot of information, but once again, doesn't feel like too much. Loved it about this show. You've got Wrestler, and he's going, I guess, in front of this. I don't really know what they are. There's some sort of board of directors. I know that my family sometimes talks over the show when they come home. If I'm right in the middle of the show, they come in, they start talking, and so sometimes I'll miss little bits of detail. And so when the director of the FBI, whenever she was talking to Wrestler, and they were talking to this woman that was on this board of whatever, I don't remember what they said they were doing there, but basically this woman is saying that the FBI needs to share their information, the task force needs to share their information with the CIA, and their director's sitting right there, and it's the head of the cabal that we've been, he's been accused of, but because it's Reddington that put out the information, it's not enough to get him accused. Everybody thinks it's just speculation. And you know how this is going to go down because clearly this guy has enough pull in the government to get whatever he wants. And so they sit through this hearing. Wrestler finally admits that he thinks, he is trying to arrest her, but when they ask whether he thinks Elizabeth's innocent, he says he thinks so, and if she would give him a proper trial, a jury of 12 of her peers would agree with me. He said, I don't think there's a 12-man jury who would disagree with me. And so that's nice to see. It's nice to see that he does believe that she's innocent. But then, of course, the CIA director gets his say, and he's just talking about how all of this information, the fulcrum was released by Raymond Reddington, and how he disagrees that Elizabeth is innocent, and that Elizabeth is working against him and all of this stuff. You just spitting lies, and how there's no cabal. It's frustrating to me because of course he's going to say there's no cabal. He's the lead. He's been accused of being the leader of the cabal, and so when he says there's no cabal, it's like, well, of course you're going to say that. Even if there is no cabal, either way you're going to say it. If there is a cabal, you're going to deny it. If there isn't, you're going to say there's no cabal. So, but of course, at the end of the episode, the lady, whatever her name is, has said that they need to share information with him. Wrestler pretty much has to, and if he doesn't, then they'll just get somebody else in that will. And you knew it was coming because this guy he gets whatever he wants. And I'm not convinced that this lady has not been paid off by the cabal, whoever she is, the one that they were talking to. But anyway, in my opinion, this can be a good thing because there's an old saying that we all know: keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. So maybe keeping him in-house and keeping him nearby, so you can feed him a certain amount of information and kind of find out what he wants to know. Maybe this will help them a bit. And of course, Wrestler may not see it that way at first, but I think, if Reddington finds out about this, he may see this as an advantage to, now they can finally get a bit of information on the cabal. And then finally, the last story going on is Tom, and he's meeting with this guy. He's trying to get info into the Russian crime organization. And this guy that he met at the end of last one, he's like this bachelor. He has a debt to the Russian crime industry. And I don't want to call them mafia because I don't think they're the Russian mafia. But basically this guy owes some money to this organization that Tom needs to kind of infiltrate. And so, he's befriending him, he's befriending his fiance, and so when the Russian guy comes to take the money, Tom shows up and kills him. And the episode kind of ends with this bachelor and his fiance finding out that Tom killed the guy. And so you kind of, it's not clear what Tom's whole plan, what his play is, but I don't mind that. I like being a bit in the dark. Like, that he's using this guy to get to the Russians, but you don't know how he's going to do it. You don't know, when before he shoots the guy says, they'll come for you, and he says, I'm counting on it. So you know that he wants them to find him. but you don't know what his play is from there. And even then, like, even if he is able to infiltrate and get to Karakurt, like, what then? Do you just kill him? Do you want to bring him in so he can clear Elizabeth? Like, what's the plan? What's going to happen from here? So there's a lot of mystery there and a lot of potential to change up the story a bit. But all you know is that Thomas started his attack to get to Karakurt, and that's just the beginning. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see next week's previews looks pretty good. But I'm excited to see where Elizabeth's story goes. I'm excited to see how Ressler uses this new, the fact that the CIA director is right there in his office. I'm excited to see if he's going to use that to his advantage. And the show just, it keeps, even though it did that cliche thing at the beginning, it still made up for it in the rest of the episode. Like, the rest of the episode was good enough to where I didn't mind that they started off with cliche. And that's really good because, going back to Bones, that episode is full of cliche, and it was full of dumb stuff. And so, it has a lot of the Bones cliches in it. But I could have overlooked it if the case was interesting, if what they were doing with having the Sleepy Hollow characters in there, if that was interesting. But no, it was just a dumb case. It was dumb to have them in there because it completely clashes, like, the tone, the two universes. I'm going back to my old days of watching, like, Disney Channel shows when I was a kid, and I remember there was a time they had Kim Possible and Lilo and Stitch in the same, and it totally made sense because Kim Possible's world has aliens, Lilo and Stitch obviously has aliens, so it made sense to have them together because that didn't clash. But this is like science, supernatural, and it doesn't work. It doesn't fit together. And so that makes the cliches just 10 times worse. Whereas the Blacklist, one cliche at the beginning, followed by a great episode. So that's where I think Blacklist just really hits it on the head, is that the story is good. So that's about it for this episode, though, and I think that's about it for this week. Obviously, Walking Dead on Sunday. Librarian season premiere on Sunday, so I'll see you guys there. Peace out.